Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure of mine to introduce my good friend, Dr. Innocent Sigauke. His family and my family are very good friends. So our kids used to play together when he was here in IS, but now he's a big man now in Solusi University. So Dr. Sigauke is a lecturer in the Finance and Marketing Department at Solusi University, Bulawayo in Zimbabwe. He earned his PhD here at IS, and he is married to Evelyn Sigauke, who is also a PhD in business, and they're blessed with 3 kids. So it's, I think it was Taku and Kombo and what's the youngest one, Innocent?
Tafara.
Tafara, yes. Taku, Kombo, and Tafara. So please send them my regards, but for now, it's a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Innocent Sigauke. Innocent, it's your time now.
Thank you, David, for the introduction. Thank you, Dr. Seli and AQRA for having me. Greetings from Zimbabwe. I hope you're all safe wherever you are. So I'm going to present on the topic Lessons on SDA Health Lifestyle, a social marketing perspective. So to begin with, I would want to just check from the audience, do you know any of those brands? There's a Lada Niva there, Toyota, and a Mahindra. And my assumption is probably you know a Toyota more than the other two. A La Vida is a Russian model of a car, and the Mahindra is a Indian brand. And my suggestion is that the difference that makes you know the Toyota more than the other brands is because of marketing. And so there have been a number of studies on social marketing in particular. For example, by Kemp, Ego, which suggests that social marketing is a key factor in changing behavior. They've also been meta-analysis done by Sweat, Hung, and others, also showing that social marketing is a key success factor in behavior change. So the first idea that's coming there is that social marketing is a key success factor in behavior change. Additionally, when you look at Adventist health lifestyle, it's been suggested by a number of studies that it leads to longevity. For example, studies by Batner, 2010, the Blue Zone studies, they are quite popular studies. They've also shown that link between Adventist health lifestyle and longevity. So the study concept for this basically was that, is it possible to market SDA health lifestyle as you could market a Toyota, or as you could market a KFC or Jollibee? That's the study concept. And the research gap that is illustrated in this chart here is that your social marketing is a key success factor. You have Adventist health showing to be effective in improving health. So the issue is there potential use of social marketing in SDA health? Therefore, the research problem for this study was that while social marketing has been shown to be a key success factor, but Adventist health, on the other hand, though effective, is shown to be limited in terms of its promotion. So the study used appreciative inquiry as well as grounded theory to suggest a social marketing model on marketing Adventist health. So the research questions: what are the valuable lessons that we can learn from Adventist health and Adventist health marketing? Is there a grounded theory? What is the grounded theory? And what are the best practices that we can get from social marketing from an Adventist health perspective? So the purpose of the study was to generate a social marketing theory or model by appreciating those positive stories from SD health practitioners, academics, as well as from social marketing models and extant studies. The methodology was a multi-method, including both appreciative inquiry and grounded theory. The research setting: the study was conducted in the Philippines, where Adventist health practitioners, academics, health lifestyle program participants were interviewed. And these participants were from different countries: Cameroon, Fiji, India, the US, Philippines. In addition, data was also gathered from social marketing models as well as external studies. So that's the summary of the participants. From the program participants, those people who participated in health lifestyle programs, CHIP in particular, there were 5, Take Control, another program, 6, the public health academics were 4, the health directors were 2, the health practitioners were 10. And then there were 20 social marketing studies that were reviewed. The trustworthiness criteria for the study: there's a clear audit trail, which included the use of hyper research to document, to code, and to give a record of all the codes and all the data that was used. Research journals and memos were also used for that purpose. So triangulation was done in the following: by way of sources, documents, memos, interviews were used. So not only one source of data was used. Besides in-depth interviews, also focus groups were used. And then the peer reviews were done by my peers when I was conducting the study. So that provided investigator triangulation. And as already alluded to, hyper research was used in the process of conducting the research. Member checks were done. So the transcribed interviews were sent back to the interviewees, who confirmed the ideas transcribed and captured. The philosophical positioning of has already been stated, or is stated, was stated that as an Adventist, as someone with marketing experience in teaching marketing courses, that is the philosophical positioning which influenced me as a researcher in this study. The ethical consideration, the basics: informed consent, confidentiality, as well as going through an ethics review board before conducting the study, was done. So a summary of the coding and analysis framework: the grounded theory coding was used for the study, where initial in vivo and process codes were generated, amounting to 175 codes, and then that led to axial coding. 22 axial codes were generated, and then a core category emerged from the study, which is centers of influence. And in addition, 4 supporting categories were generated. And the emerging theory that was suggested is that Adventist health lifestyle comes about through centers of influence when they use benchmark programs. that are based on a SDA guiding philosophy. So more on the coding and analysis, those were the actual codes that were generated: biblical science, prevention, group support, professionalism, procedures. And the categories that came up, the core category, centers of influence, and then the other categories, program actions and strategies, program benchmarks, and guiding philosophy. So the major finding of the study, or the theory suggested, is that health lifestyle is possible through centers of influence when they run benchmark programs which have a distinctively SDA worldview and guided by a marketing design criterion. So that's the illustration of the resultant theory. So you have the program benchmarking there, which is the causal condition. You have the guiding philosophy, which is the context, and you have the actions and strategies. In this case, they were recruiting the participants, communicating with them, incentivizing them, and getting them to participate in the programs. So more lessons from the study. The first lesson emanating from the core category is that centers of influence lead to behavior change, and that behavior change has a ripple effect. Also coming from the study, the major context which informed the core category is the guiding philosophy. And the guiding philosophy suggested from the interviews is that the centers of influence are supposed to conduct programs which focus on prevention, longevity, with a biblical and scientific scope, holistic as well as global. Then the causal condition. From the interviews, the interviewees suggested that group support, professionalism, exchange, collaborations, contextualizations are key in running the programs if they are to change behavior. For example, the participants in the CHIP programs and the Take Control health programs suggested that when they were in groups, they got encouragement, they got to share, and that helped them to participate in the programs and to come back, and that helped them to change their lifestyles. Professionalism, for example, the participants suggested that if the programs are more professionally conducted, as opposed to being casual, part of a church program, then they were likely to be more effective. And on the program elements there, the program content-based of the programs which are supposed to be run in the centers of influence are based on the New Start or celebrations concept. That is what most of the respondents, be they academics, practitioners, shared. So the actions and strategies that were evidenced by the data is that recruit, implement procedures, incentivize, communicate, and then evaluate. Again, those actions taking place in the centers of influence. Then lessons from the social marketing studies are as follows. They suggested a design criteria, implying that the programs which are supposed to be run in the centers of influence are supposed to meet social marketing design criteria. And the social marketing design criteria can be summarized in these four categories which came from the data. At the top there, you have marketing action plans, which are summarized by those the core marketing principles: segment, target, position, and then your marketing mix, the product, the pricing, the distribution, and all the other marketing elements that are there. And then the built environment is one of the key elements that came from the study, suggesting that if programs which are to be run in centers of influence or programs which are run to encourage behavior are supposed to have a built environment. And if I may use an illustration, if you are to have a business run, for example, in the Philippines, a business run in Zimbabwe, a business run probably in Russia or China, the environment will have a big effect on how that business is run. So no matter how the entrepreneur or the business person's abilities may be, they may be affected by the environment. So in the same context, the study suggested that the environment will affect the ability of a person to change his behavior. So if there are environmental prompts, they can go a long way in changing or helping people to change their behavior. Such prompts can be, for example, if it's exercise, the availability of exercise facilities, the presence of a cycling track, for example. For somebody who wants to cycle, will make a big difference. So if somebody wants to exercise, they want to cycle, but there is no cycle track which protects them from the traffic, from other hazards, they may not do that. Then another issue there that came out is models. Appropriate models will enhance behavior change. And I think there's also literature on that. Education theories, social learning theory also suggest the concept of modeling. So that's the second issue on the social marketing design criteria. So programs should have the social marketing action plans there. They should have a built environment. And then the other design measures, which is a concept which came up there. Instead of focusing only on the end person who is supposed to change his behavior, the study suggests that a person is supposed to have multiple level focus, which means policymakers are supposed to be involved. So, for example, at an institution, they are the ones who are responsible for changing the environment. If the policymakers are not involved, then the environment may be difficult to change, which may affect the behavior change possibility. So the other issues that came about, for example, are expert design of the programs or co-designing the programs with the participants. And then there are benchmarking criteria, social marketing benchmarking criteria, which can be used. Criteria has been suggested by Andreessen and others there. And the theory that came up from the data is that health-life behavior modifications are driven by centers of influence that run benchmark programs shaped by a distinctively Adventist worldview, guided via social marketing design criteria. So the recommendations suggested by the study is that for possible health lifestyle programs or institutions, they should have concise guiding philosophy statements which are supposed to be shaped. For example, in this study, what was suggested is that they should be preventive as a philosophy. They should be global. They should be holistic. And then the second recommendation is the adoption of the suggested benchmarks. For example, if we can quickly go back to those benchmarks there, group support. So programs should have group support elements. They should be professional. There should be collaborations between the institution, two or more institutions, facilitators, etc., contextualizations. So a program, for example, run in Africa, in Asia could be contextualized. And then there are other different drivers that were suggested by the program, by the study. Then the other recommendation is the establishment or standardization of centers of influence in line with the criteria that came out from this study. And then the last recommendation is the adoption of social marketing design criteria is suggested there to have the use of social marketing action plans, segment. In other words, don't offer the same program to everyone, targeting, positioning, the marketing mix, create a built environment, have a multiple level focus, and adopt design benchmarking criteria. I thank you. In summary, that's the presentation. And if you noticed, I chose to summarize the whole study, and as opposed to probably providing more detail on the data that gave rise to these findings. So probably through this question and answer session, I can get your input or questions or clarifications that you may have on the study. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Innocent. It's great to see you and to hear you. It's been a while.
Good to see you too.
Yes, yes. So we have some questions coming in, but first, some of our participants are asking about if you could show us a more clear picture of your research questions, so we can see what is the place of appreciative inquiry in your study. If you can please explain a little bit more about it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Innocent, I noticed that in your presentation here, you did not state your research questions as they appeared in your full paper. You rather summarized your research questions here. Would you like to show your full research questions? Is it easy for you to pull them out and show here?
Let me try, but I can be explaining in the meantime. The choice of the appreciative inquiry, because the study was a multi-method, which used both grounded theory and appreciative inquiry. So the appreciative inquiry provided an appreciative thrust, because the idea was with appreciative inquiry, you want to maximize the best that is in a phenomena. And so the idea was to extract the best from SDA, health lifestyle practitioners and academics. What do they think is the best in terms of SDA health lifestyle, as well as its management and marketing? So that is how the appreciative inquiry was used. But
I have it ready. Would you like me to share my screen?
Yes, you can share your screen.
Yeah, can you?
You need to stop sharing your screen.
Stop sharing so I can share my screen.
Okay.
Above there's an icon, stop share. Can you do that? Yes. All right, good. Good. Let me show your screen. It's my screen here. Okay. All right. Can you see? Can you see?
Yes, I can see them.
Yeah. So would you like to read your research questions?
Yes. So given the appreciative philosophy, the questions were drafted in line with the 4 Ds of appreciative inquiry: discovery, dream, design, and delivery. So on discovery, those were the first ones that you shared on the first slide. What are the lessons from the academics, from the practitioners? What are the lessons from the, so in other words, what are the lessons from all the data sources? So there are three main data sources: the academics, the practitioners, those were the interviews, and as well as the focus groups, which included the program participants. And then what are the lessons from the documents, the social marketing documents? So the interviews, the focus groups, and the documents. So that's discovery. Then dream. From these data sources, what is the compelling vision in terms of SDA Health Lifestyle as well as its marketing? And then design. What is the emergent theory? Because the purpose of this study was to generate a theory. What is the emergent theory coming up? And it's because appreciative inquiry will include participation from the participants, the respondents. What do they think is a design? So that's the design element. So what are the grounded themes that emerge? What is the grounded social marketing model that comes up? And how can the envisioned social marketing theory and practice be used to design a social marketing model for SDA Health Lifestyle change? And so the last D is delivery. How are these three Ds, the initial Ds, discover, dream, and design, translate into something that can be implementable? I don't know if that's will answer the question.
I will now stop sharing, but I think that's very helpful that you are able to show, because one question that comes to mind is, which is really very interesting, is how do we put together these two methodologies? It's so interesting, you know, in qualitative research, how two methodologies are put together. And in your case, you are doing an appreciative inquiry and at the same time grounded theory, which are really both of them very good research methodologies. And we can say that this is the strength of your study. And it's so good to see how appreciative inquiry like framed your data gathering through your research questions. Okay, I will now stop sharing.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question. Doctor, can you give us a background about the Adventist lifestyle, which is the subject of your research? Why is there a need to market it and have people buy it?
Okay, thank you. So from the initial slides that I shared, the gap that I tried to suggest of the study suggests that if you look at the studies by the Blue Zone studies, by Bartner in 2010, there are already a number of studies about CHIP, the CHIP program, which is run based on Adventist philosophy. There is evidence suggesting that Adventist health lifestyle leads to better health, it leads to longevity, and I think that's a good thing. Better health, it's good for society, it's good for business, it's good for society in brief. But from this study again, the study by Galvez, for example, suggested that the marketing of Adventist health lifestyle is limited. And already we have institutions that are trying to do that. I know in the Philippines, the number of hospitals, institutions that are trying to promote that health lifestyle. So there is a gap there, in the sense that if social marketing is proving to be helpful in changing behavior, but Adventist health lifestyle marketing is limited, why not try to use social marketing? to so
Dr.
that you can
Sigauke.
benefit more people.
Dr. Sigauke, can you explain a little more? How does that Adventist lifestyle look like? Suppose I do not know what that is. How does that look like?
Okay, so again, if I can draw from what I got from the study, it's summarized by two concepts which are already in the Adventist domain. The New Start, if I can use that as an acronym. I know most Adventists will know what that means. New Start, nutrition. So you need to have nutrition. If you have your nutrition wrong, and that also came a lot in the interviews, if your nutrition is not right, then you're likely to have problems with your health. Nutrition, exercise, water or fluids, you need that. You need the S for sunshine. You need rest. You need trust in God. You need temperance or balance. So that's the sum of the Adventist health lifestyle: nutrition, exercise, sunshine, rest, trust in God.
Okay, thank you.
Doctor, you chose a center of influence as the forepost of promoting Adventist lifestyle. What is the center of influence? How does it look like? What is it?
So actually, this came out from the interviews, because from what the practitioners and the academics wanted, or the best that they thought should be there, it should be centers of influence. So a center of influence is a concept suggesting that if we look at what came out from the study, it's a center which helps to get others to adopt the health lifestyle. I don't know if I should go into the components. So the study suggested that that center of influence should then have the health lifestyle core, the New Start. In this case, it should have social marketing design criteria. It should have a built environment. It should have social marketing action plans. It should have a guiding philosophy. In this case, the Adventist guiding philosophy, it should be scientific. It should be biblical. It should be global. It should be holistic. So that center then can get people to change behavior. Once a person changes behavior, it will have a ripple effect. That is what the study suggested. So once person's behavior changes, then they will affect the next person and the next.
Yes. Innocent, can I ask one question before we go to the participants' questions?
Yes.
In grounded theory, there's this thing called abstraction. So could it be possible that your recommendations, the 4 recommendations you gave,
Yes.
concise guiding philosophy, adoption of benchmark drivers, standardized, influence center, and adoption of social marketing could be applied to other businesses, not just an Adventist lifestyle. For example, if I want to open a yoga lifestyle, or if I want to open a business that plays with lifestyle, can I use your can I use your finding for that?
Okay. Yes. So because the study was a grounded theory, it's primarily a substantive theory, which means that it's primarily on the data was on Adventist participants, so it applies to the Adventist community. However, we did not have time to do other studies to get data from, for example, you mentioned yoga and other groups that try to encourage behavior change. But there are certain things which can be extended, probably like the guiding philosophy of the Adventists is given. So the guiding philosophy, the study suggests that a guiding philosophy is useful in a center of influence. So what may change is that while we're talking about Adventist health lifestyle, another group, for example, yoga, probably they may be based on Hindu philosophy. And the program benchmarks, I think some of them can be common: group support, professionalism. Yes, so in brief, to answer you, yes, the study can be extended beyond the Adventist community.
I still have.
So we will now start answering. We have several questions here.
Let me just share screen. This is the first question. This is by Janet Espada. Asked, which part of the study reflects the appreciative inquiry?
I think we have answered that one already.
Next
David.
one. From Ranzolin Bayeta. It is interesting how you combine grounded theory and appreciative inquiry. Both research designs have their own analysis framework, data collection method, theoretical foundations, etc. Please elaborate further on what specific part of your methodology do you use grounded theory and appreciative inquiry?
Okay, thank you. So appreciative inquiry in general provided the appreciative framework. So the data collection, the framing of the questions in the interview. So the interview questions were purposefully appreciative, focusing on the positive that could come out. So that was so in data collection. And then in designing the research, as you noticed, if you looked at the research questions, they catered for the 4Ds. What is the discovery? What are you discovering? So they catered for the discovery element. They catered from the dream. What is the vision of the participants in terms of? So they catered for the design of the research, the interviews, the questions, and then the analysis. Even though it had to be done after the data was collected, because it was not possible to then look at dream design in the process of collecting the research. So after the research was done, using the software, it was possible to track what specific elements addressed the dream, what specific elements addressed the design and the delivery. And so then coming to grounded theory, the purpose of grounded theory is to come up with, to generate theory. So again, because it was a multi-method, both methods were combined. So all the aspects of grounded theory, that it's iterative, you do not come up with all the questions. So the questions were not pre-formed, all of them. They were not, they emerged through the whole research process. They evolved the coding. So you can actually isolate the coding framework and analysis process. It was primarily a grounded theory framework. So the coding, the initial codes, the in vivo codes, the Excel coding. So if you look at the traditions of grounded theory, they are primarily three. So you can relate that coding process to grounded theory, and even the emergent theory. So the results that came out. So it was a multi-method. So both, in summary.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Innocent. Here's another question. This is from Ruchel Enriquez. Good afternoon, Doctor. Thank you for your presentation. I did not read about theoretical sampling from your method slide or how participants were chosen. May I please know if you employed it, given that you use grounded theory? Thank you very much.
Okay. So thank you. So that's the other aspect of grounded theory that was part of the study. So, like I said, there was no prescribed, there was no set of questions at the beginning of the research. Neither was there a set interview pool. But the theoretical, the purpose of the research to generate a theory and the issues that were coming out. So the participants, one participant led to the other. So yes, theoretical sampling was used, and maybe in connection with the previous question, this is how the two designs were merged. So theoretical sampling, yes, was part of the process.
Yes, Dr. Pavel, do you have any questions you want to ask?
Well, maybe we can proceed with some other questions we have here in Q&A box. I see here.
This one was answered earlier. I asked this question, but Gail answered that one. Here's another question from Janet Espada. Let me just put it here.
Yes, there's only one more.
Can you see the question now?
Yes.
Yes. How do you think the Adventist faith practices influence his or her longevity?
Okay, I'm not very sure I get the question. My opinion on faith practices and longevity. I just want to get clarity on the question. I may just go back to the studies. The studies suggest that Adventist health, if you look at the Blue Zone studies, for example, they isolate Adventist health practices among other practices. So they identified a number of practices, and Adventist health practice was among those. So how do I think that faith practices influences longevity? I think if an Adventist is true to the suggested philosophy and practice, and since studies suggest that those two are related, then I think it may lead to longevity.
May I add something, Dr. Sigauke?
Yes,
yeah, so
please.
Blue Zone is published in a book, and I read it, and so there are several areas, right? Like in Okinawa, and can you help me? In a sense, where those places are? I remember Okinawa, another one in the Mediterranean somewhere, another one I think in South America, right?
Yes.
I'm just recalling on top of my head now. But one of those, and of course for the Adventist group, they studied those who were in Loma Linda. And one of those that were highlighted among the practices actually was the observance of the Sabbath. Yeah, when family and friends could come together. And the author mentioned that as one of the uniqueness of the Adventist group. Yeah, while for those in Okinawa, I think the author highlighted that strong sense of purpose, like grandparents taking care of their children and grandchildren, you know, this kind of family, and a sense of purpose that even though you're already old, you are needed. Yes. So
Yes.
I hope that helps answer that question, which is really a very interesting question.
Yeah. So, Dr. Innocent, in grounded theory, there are two opposing beliefs. One is that you come in with a blank slate, you read nothing, and you get the theory emerging from your data, or you read things, then you do the study. What did you do in your approach? Did you read things? Did you read theories about social, about the theories that you were studying, or did you come in with a blank slate?
Okay, so obviously the Straussian views suggests that probably you can do more to even review literature and influence the theory, or the other view that the theory is supposed to emerge. So probably the view that we took that with my supervisor and those who were involved in the research is that it's not really practical to have a blank slate, as it were. So obviously, my Adventist upbringing, my Adventist views, they obviously influenced my thoughts even about Adventist health lifestyle. So those you cannot remove those. But at the same time, it is my view that the theory emerged from the data. It was from the participants. Like personally, I have not known about centers of influence as a term and as a concept until the study. So the theory emerged from the data. It came from the participants, and even all those the context. Obviously, through analysis, you suggest what is the context, what is the causal condition.
David, I think we can have one more question.
Sure. Anyone wants to ask a question?
Are we done? I mean, with all the questions here?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. There's one who raised the hand. I did not quite catch the name. Any one of you who raised the hand earlier? There's one who raised his hand after the presentation of Dr. Innocent.
Yeah. If anyone wants to raise a hand, they can raise their hand now, and I will allow them to talk directly. I think. Does anyone wants to ask a question to Dr.
There is just a question that appeared now. Thank you, Dr. Sigauke, for your presentation. Please kindly share with us the final theories that emerged as grounded theory or theories.
Okay. Probably I could use the PowerPoint. I can share the screen.
Sure.
Just to summarize the theory. So the theory coming out is that if you have a center of influence there with a guiding philosophy that is with an Adventist guiding philosophy. So the Adventist guiding philosophy is that those 6 components: scientific, biblical, holistic, global. So that is the guiding philosophy for the center of influence. And then if you have in that center of influence programs, health lifestyle programs, which are benchmarked according to those programs, like group participation or group, instead of focusing on individual, they focus on groups. Professionalism, contextualization. So a program, like I was suggesting in Africa, in the Philippines, in the US, contextualized. Those programs are run in the center of influence. And then there are specific actions and programs in that center of influence. And because the study was not focusing on identifying actions and programs, the basic actions that were evident in the data are recruiting participants, incentivizing the participants, communicating with them, and evaluating the program. So if those are part of the center of influence, then, so if you have programs which are benchmarked with a guiding philosophy that is Adventist, then it will lead to behavior modification. So in brief, that's the theory. And then there are the different aspects of the theory, which are the lessons. So if you look at the program benchmarks, there is data on the program benchmarks. What was suggested by the participants in terms of those benchmarks? Then worldview, what is suggested by the participants as the worldview? Then programs, they are brief. And then the center of influence. What did the participants suggest as centers of influence? So the center of influence benchmark programs with the guiding philosophy will lead to behavior modification. And then there you have social marketing design criteria, which suggested as a built environment, marketing action programs, social marketing benchmarking, and multiple level focus. Instead of just focusing on the person who's supposed to change behavior, it's multiple. From the policymakers to those in the midstream, right to the end person. That's the summary of the theory, yes.
Thank you so much. I think with this one, we will close this.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Sigauke, and thank you also, Dr. Pavel and Dr. David, for facilitating our question and answer portion. Again, we want to assure our participants that maybe one question that hangs over your head right now is like, what is the relevance of this theory to me? So you can study the theory, resultant theory. We are going to share this one to you so you can study some more. And you will see that, Innocent, if you can move to the next slide, the resultant theory actually is now more general. It's instead of guiding philosophy, it's now your worldview. What is your worldview? And what is your program? What is it that you want to conceptualize that will require a lifestyle modification? In this case, it's healthy lifestyle modification. In your case, it may be another. It may be any that requires behavior modification. So you can study this theory. So we will have a break, a 5-minute break. My time now is 6:04, so we are going to come back at like 6:10. Would that be okay? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, I think we should do something. We should clap our hands, right? Okay, to our participants there, you can click the clap button. All right, thank you. Congratulations, Dr. Innocent.